Good afternoon, welcome along to Matchday Live at the King Power Stadium for FA Cup 4th round day. Birmingham City, the visitors. I'm Danny Jameson. We're taking you all the way through till kick-off. Great to have your company this afternoon alongside two Leicester legends, in the shape of Steve Howard and Jerry Taggart, neither of whom, I'm reliably informed, spent the week jumper shopping with Wilfred and Didi. Before we talk to the chaps, let's get a look at today's team news, and there's quite a lot of it as expected. Lots of changes from both sides, starting with Leicester City, where there are 10 changes from the draw with Ipswich on Monday. Hamza Chowdhury, the only one to keep his place. So Jakub Stolarczyk continues as the Cup goalkeeper. The back four includes a senior debut for Brandon Cover. Ben Nelson continues after making his full debut in the previous round against Millwall alongside Connor Cody. Callum Doyle comes in left back. Chowdhury will be part of the midfield three alongside Yunus and Dennis Pratt, who only makes his third start of the season, his first one since August. Mark Albrighton and Wanya Marçal will play out wide, and Jamie Vardy returns. He starts for the first time since the end of November. Lots of interesting names on the bench as well. Lots of first-team regulars in Ward, Justin Fass, Mavadidi, Ricardo, Tom Cannon, McAteer, but Silko Thomas and Arjen Reiki, two young men who will be making their senior debuts if they come off the bench for Leicester today. Birmingham, under new management, of course, now, with Tony Mowbray in charge, go a little bit stronger. They only make 3 changes from a really good win at Stoke in the Championship last weekend. Cody Drammer, Dion Sanderson and Juninho Bacuna drop out. Ethan Laird, Emmanuel Iwu and Keshi Anderson come in. Laird's been out for 7 weeks with a hip injury, so they line up like this. John Ruddy in goal, a back four of Laird, Iwu, Christian Bielik and Lee Buchanan. Even Sunjic and Jordan James in midfield. Anderson will play just behind Jay Stansfield with Miyoshi and Siriki Dembele either side out wide. On the bench, Etheridge, Mark Roberts, Tyler Roberts, Hogan, Gardner, Longello, Long, Burke and Donovan. So maybe a little bit stronger than expected for Birmingham City. Lots of changes for the Foxes today, guys. What do you make of that starting 11? I
think it's good. It gives everybody a chance. It's an FA Cup, so it's a step away from the league. I think the lads who are coming in, if they do well and obviously put themselves in the shot windows for starting the first day.
Yeah, I think it's horses for courses for Enzo today. He's playing against a team that are in the same division. He's obviously got a massive game on Tuesday night as well against Swansea, which has obviously been rearranged from today. So I think it was horse for course. And as Steve said, you've got millions of pounds sitting on a bench and not getting a game. So it's right to give these guys a run. Okay, people say, well, 10 changes, that's a lot of changes to make for a 4th round FA Cup. But as I said, horses for courses, there's bigger fish to fry coming up just down the line. So he's got to be really honest with himself, honest with the players, the squad players that aren't playing week in, week out. And I think he showed that today.
Well, that's maybe the important thing, because we've seen the last month or so, while AFCON and the Asia Cup has been on, there's been a lot of injuries that have happened at the same time. Some of these players, you might need them between now and May to come into the first team for more than just a cup game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a vitally important stage of the season. They negotiated the Christmas period exceptionally well, Leicester City. And then come out the other side, as you said, there's people going to AFCON, there's been 1 or 2 injuries, and now you're having to dig deep into your squad. And this is a perfect opportunity for some of these younger players. Brandon Cover, who comes in today in that right back stroke midfield, inverted right back position, to make a name for himself, to show everybody in the crowd today, people that may not know too much about him, to really go and show what he's got to offer.
Going to be very interesting. We'll get more from the chaps very, very soon, but there's plenty more coming up on the show today. We'll be taking a look back at Monday night, that draw with Ipswich Town. 1 apiece it finished. We'll get all of the analysis from the game between the top 2 and what that point might mean going forwards. We'll also hear from the boss, Enzo Maresca. He's been talking to the media ahead of today's game with Birmingham City. We'll hear his thoughts, and of course, we'll get the inside track on Tony Mowbray's side, Birmingham City, with the opposition view coming up as well. So, shall we look back then on Monday night? It was one of the games of the season, the top 2 in the Championship, Leicester and Ipswich Town, and here's how it went.
Rolls and runs at Clark. Mavadidi twists and turns back to Chowdhury. Chowdhury goes for goal, and Hladky just about claws it out. Hamza Chowdhury turns and looks and can't believe he's not scored the goal of his career. Now Winks, lovely Leicester move, and they have passed it to Mavadidi. 1-2 with Ricardo is brilliant. The cross is good. It's an own goal, and Leicester lead. Leif Davis couldn't do much about it. It was a brilliant, brilliant move. Leicester picked Ipswich apart, and in this massive game at the top of the Championship, Leicester City strike first, 1-0. Vestergaard, of course, is forward. Shrewsbury Hall swings it in. Oh, it's come to Mavadidi. Mavadidi's shot blocked, and then the overhead kick from Cannon was brilliant, but it's over the bar. Well, even by his introduction to this Leicester City team, that would have been very special from Cannon. Luongo to Clark. He heads it back in towards Burns. Burns here shoots. What a save from Hermansen! Magnificent. Wes Burns can't believe he's not equalised. Leicester were caught out. I don't think Burns was offside. And Mads Hermansen sticks up a big right arm to keep Leicester in the lead. And here's Cannon. Cannon lets fly. Hladky makes the save to his left-hand side. Almost another goal in Leicester blue for Cannon. It will be a corner. And the Ipswich left. Ball into Broadhead was good. Broadhead shifts it here. Luongo gets the shot. Hermansen saves. Sarmiento scores on the rebound. His first Ipswich goal, and just like at Portman Road, Ipswich at the death of pegged Leicester back. Hermansen made one great save. He almost made a spectacular second, but he couldn't keep it out.
So one apiece. The gap stays at 7 at the top of the Championship, and yet, does it feel like we're maybe a little bit disappointed with only a point from that game?
Well, yeah, I think, you're trying to analyse the game, and you look at the chances there that we've seen on the replay, and definitely Leicester had the better chances, but the second half, especially of the second half, you've got to say that Ipswich really did pile the pressure on Leicester, even though they still had one or two chances, even though they were long rangers. Tom Cannon, I think, had a long range effort there. The keeper makes a good save. So I said on the evening I thought it was probably a fair result, but in saying that, I think first half Leicester controlled the majority of the game. Only went to 1 goal up, created a couple of half-decent chances. And then you're thinking, okay, Ipswich are going to come back. I think they hold the record of coming back after going behind, scoring the most goals after going behind in games this season in the Championship. So you're expecting them to come back into it, but you're just hoping that Leicester could desperately hold on to that lead. And you see how the goal was scored. I think that's taken a slight deflection, actually. The first one he saves, and then the second save, he almost does enough to stop it from going over the line.
Just squeezes over his ankle.
I don't know what he must have been thinking there, Hermansen, when he at first glance, he must have thought he'd got to it. And then see it just squirm under his body and just over the line. That's excruciating. So a little bit unlucky, but credit to Ipswich.
I think that's one of the criticisms that the squad, obviously, with the chances to create, they're 1-0, and I think with the chances to create, if they go 2 and 3, that's what they need in the side. Whereas like the last 10 minutes, like Jerry was saying, the pile of pressure on and they're susceptible to the late goal. All the crowd can feel that, and it comes on the pitch to the players as well. So hopefully today, they'll do that and take the chances when they come.
And that's the good thing, I suppose, that you can get that out of your system quite quickly. But you mentioned the late goals, and that's kind of been a little undercurrent the last maybe 2 or 3 months. As players, do you think about that? How conscious are you when there's a perception that you're conceding late regularly?
Well, that's probably probably more than
you
the forwards.
You're
probably more than the forwards. I don't care about that.
Stood up on the halfway line.
Well, okay, yeah. Obviously, it's something that does play on your mind, or it's in the back of your mind. Before you go out onto the pitch, then you're obviously trying to put those negative thoughts well and truly to the back and to sleep, with a hefty sedative. But the longer the game goes on and the more pressure that the opposition are piling on you, then them thoughts slowly start to creep from the back to the front of your head. And I think when you analyse the game, I thought actually Leicester were doing the right thing, but the coherence between the back to the front, I don't think I'm not saying there was no joined up thinking, but they weren't joined at the hip basically, and that allowed Ipswich to, in the most part, regain second ball. So there was a lot of long diagonal passes being played, and Leicester would either win the first contact, or the ball would go into an area of the pitch where there was no Leicester players to try and pick the 50-50s up, and that was the biggest issue for me on Monday night. In games gone past, we've seen Leicester still trying to play their way out when the teams are playing a high press, a strong press, high up the pitch, and they're continually trying to play the ball out. Teams are cutting it out and putting us under pressure. That didn't really happen. What happened was we didn't pick the second balls up from the long diagonal passes, and so there was no joined up thinking in that.
I think you've hit it on the head there. It's all about the second balls.
Right.
And I think Leicester's always been one of them teams where they've dominated games because they're picking up the second balls, especially in midfield. And I think towards the back end of games, they're not doing that. I don't know whether that's because of substitutions. I mean, you know, like he's been, and the lads who are coming on are not really quite doing the second balls, but they've just got to eradicate that. And I think the defenders will start getting nervous. The attackers need to obviously take their opportunities when they can to give the lads at the back a bit of a break, because you know, if you're 1-0 up in a game, you're going to get pelted.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You know, you expect that. So just to give them a bit of comfort, get the second goal.
The thing is, Ipswich are a really good team. They're having the season of their lives. They are in second. The good thing, I suppose, is that coming away from a game like that, they didn't lose. The gap is still 7.
Absolutely.
I imagine if you'd have asked Enzo in the summer, it's the end of January and you're 7 points clear at the top.
I think I did
probably take it, right?
I did an interview last week and I said, you know, if you're end of January towards and you're 7 points clear,
yeah,
you take that in a heartbeat.
I'm not playing your best stuff.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. And as well, picking up points when you aren't necessarily playing well. If you end up losing the game on Monday, the gap's down to 4, and then maybe it's a little bit more.
Yeah,
concerning.
I think the disappointment or the frustration comes from not losing a game, but drawing a game that you're actually
when you're
winning.
1-0 up and conceding.
Now,
if it had been the other way
if
around.
it was the other way around and they've come back from being beat, then you know, obviously there wouldn't be this sort of frustration lingering around. But you're right, you're totally right. 7 points clear. Still missing a couple of players. Come back that make a real difference in the team. So there's still lots to look forward to. Obviously, I think, you know, Ipswich probably needed to win that game more than Leicester on Monday night. You know, so there's nothing been lost, nothing been gained. So it's, you know, as you were, which is fine for this stage of the season, because you know we're fast approaching the final running, which is going to be massive. And you know, I think I heard Enzo mentioning that it's going to go all the way to the wire, but with 7 points in front, it's a healthy cushion.
You have to almost behave like it's going to go down to the wire, don't you? Until you have that C next to your name on the table when you look at it on teletext or whatever it is nowadays. You've got to go, foot to the floor, basically.
Yeah, as soon as complacency comes in, that's it's a slippery slope. And I think the frustration is obviously the 1-0 up, dominating games, and that's 1-1. And as players, and Jerry, I'll probably agree with this, but you feel as though it's a loss. And that's when, but it's not. And you know, before the game, you think 1-1, you see your nearest rival. Yeah, we'll take that.
That's a good mentality to have, though. If you're coming off and you're thinking, it feels like we've lost.
Yeah, absolutely, because you should be winning. Absolutely, that's how your confidence is sky high. But and it's the old cliche which everybody says, you know, one game at a time. But when it gets to this situation in a season, you've just got to go to game to game to game, get a point. You don't get beat, so you draw. You get a point out of it. You get 3 points out of it. That's all the mentality you need to have.
And just picking up on something you said, where the substitutions maybe could help, and it's quite a high energy style that Leicester playing with that high press. Bringing it back round to today with some of these fringe players, the second 11 almost, how Enzo Maresca kind of referred to them coming in today, with those guys maybe impressing a little bit more, does that maybe give him more to think about where 20 minutes to go, these guys can be like, you can trust me to go on and do you a job?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he needs everybody, every senior player, every professional footballer, all singing from the hymn sheet, moving in the same direction between now and the end of the season, because as we've just said, we don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the season as regards the players that are, you know, who are playing week in, week out. You know, said we've got a couple of injuries. We have Dede, semi-long term, which is for me is a massive blow in that midfield. And obviously we don't know how long the likes of Patson Dactor is going to be away. You know, in regards to Zambia and the AFCON. Ian Acho, how far away is he? I'm not sure. Hopefully he's not too long away. So yeah, every player that Enzo puts in his squad, in his matchday squads, has to be able to come on and play a part when called upon. And today is a perfect example of, okay, you're getting a start today. Go and show me that I can trust you in the future.
I mean, I think he did that with Daka as well, because Daka, he sat on the bench for a long time, got his opportunity, scored a few goals, and Enzo kept him in. So if you know, if I'm in the start 11 and I've been on the bench, today I'm thinking, right, I'm really going to go for this and try and claim me stake in that team.
Well, I was going to ask, so when you are in that situation, I'm sure throughout your careers there were times where you were maybe out of favour or coming back from injury. What's that mindset like? What do you have to sort of think yourself into when you get these opportunities?
Well, I was never injured, so.
I think, obviously, you know, if the manager's going to give you a chance at, say you come back, or you're out of favour, then you have to concentrate. Well, I used to concentrate on myself mainly, and making sure I did the basics right. No fancy stuff, no messing about on the ball. I'm there to do a specific job first and foremost. I'll do that, and then I'll see how the game's panning out. If we're winning 2 or 3-0, then I might, you know, try a little cut back, or I might try a little sneaky outside the left foot down the channel. But until that point, you're basically concentrating.
Ease yourself back in almost.
What is my role and responsibility as an individual in this team? And you have to make sure you do it to the best of your ability. Obviously, with what the manager wants from me as well in mind of that.
So if you'd agree that that's what you want from teammates who are coming in, obviously where you were an Iron Man and never injured and always first choice, but that's what you want from the guys that come in to show, trust me as well.
Because the higher you play, the higher level you play, you need your trust in your fellow teammates. There's nothing better than being on a pitch and you play a ball to Jerry and think, I know exactly he's going to deal with that. Great. And you're not like, you're not in two minds whether to give him the ball, think, well, can I give him his left foot? I can't give him his right foot. So when you get players in that you really, you got confidence in their ability, it's brilliant. And the lads who are coming in have to show that to everybody, especially the manager, to say, you know what, if you put me in, I'm ready.
Yeah, it's a different type of bravery, isn't it, in the modern game? Whereas you've got to be brave on the ball, under pressure at times as well. And you've got to be brave in trying to make the right decision on the ball as well. So that's where the bravery side of it comes in the modern game.
It's an interesting point you make there, because obviously Enzo's ideas are quite complicated for individual roles and things. That kind of bravery to show it on the pitch, they've been training all year, but it is only 6-7 months into this process of learning what he wants. I imagine that must be quite difficult as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the team he's just come from, Enzo Man City. When Pep Guardiola first came in there, he didn't get it right straight away.
No,
he had a lot of, he struggled first season, and then he made a few changes with a buying power. Man City made a few changes in the transfer market, brought some, top quality in. Things started to go right. So you're absolutely spot on. This is a work in progress. This is not the finished article by any stretch of the imagination, but they're on the right path and they're improving all the time. I've seen a big improvement from the start of the season to where we are now in regards to understanding the style of football that Enzo wants to play. And that's the main thing, that they're on that right path.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to watch today's game, unfortunately it's the FA Cup weekend. You can listen to it though instead. All of the details we're going to stick up on the screen for you right now. You can listen to it on Fox's Hub. It's a live pass. You can get your monthly pass right now. See that QR code down at the bottom? You can scan that and that will take you through and you can fill in all your details. Or go instead to lcfc.com/Fox's Hub and you can listen to the game today. It's audio only because it's the FA Cup this weekend, but you can listen to the game all the way through this afternoon in the comfort of your own home, out and about wherever you are today. But let's listen to what Enzo Maresca had to say when he met the press this week, and he was asked, although it's not too long since they last played Birmingham, this might be a very different team this time around.
For sure, you can see a team that they try to react to the situation. So they are in this moment very aggressive team, and they are trying to do something different. But the first thing that you can see is that they are much more aggressive. If you remember, anyway, Sunderland, we already mentioned, was a very aggressive team, intense, and they are trying to do something similar.
It's easy to get kind of running away with what could be in this competition, but when you and the players are looking at the aims, really, I wonder how you see the FA Cup, its importance, and what you want to achieve in this.
No, for sure. We said many times it's an important competition. Hopefully, we can go to the next round. But in the same moment, we are FA Game Tuesday, so we need also to manage a little bit the squad, the situation. As we said now, no Wilf, no Cesare, so we need to manage many things, thinking that we would like to arrive at this game and playing after 1 week, but it's not our case. We're gonna play after 2-3 days, so we need to manage that.
What are your memories of the competition? Is it a special competition for you personally?
No, yes, very nice, especially because you go to Wembley, so it's a very nice competition. It's not easy because it's not an easy competition, even if a good competition, because give everyone the chance to go to the next round. But as we said, we are focusing tomorrow game. Hopefully that we can win the game and play the next round.
And in the last round, you gave youngsters a chance, and Tom Cannon, Ben Nelson could go on. Is that perhaps in your minds this weekend? Is it nice, for the youngsters to play in the cup?
Yeah.
Because of course your priority has to be the league.
Yeah, will be a chance for them. Will be a chance for some more players from second team. As we said, we try to, for tomorrow game, we try to involve also the players that in this moment they had less minutes, but also some second team player. For sure, we give them the opportunity.
Jamie Vardy, back in contention, talked about players having less minutes. Is it an opportunity for him? And it's great to see the influence that Vardy has had on the team. You've spoken about that before. Is he, even when he's not playing, is he still an influence on those younger players?
Yeah, but Jamie is a reference in this club for all the young players because of his history, because of what he has done in the last 10 years. And for sure, it's a reference, as we said, for young players. He has been injured 2 months, more or less. Now he's back, and hopefully we can use him more.
Well, James, let's start there, shall we? Jamie Vardy back in the squad, starting 11 for the first time since the end of November. How good is it to see him back fit?
Oh, it's brilliant as a striker to see him there, especially an oldie as well. So, but it's nice to see him, get on there and get a start, and hopefully he does well because he's been a great player.
Yeah, I think for Jamie, to have him playing today with some of the younger lads as well in the squad, he's that driving force. He's up, as Enzo says, he's a point of reference for the younger players. Try and follow him, try and do what he does. How hard is he working off the ball? Look at the runs he makes down the channels. Can I replicate that? Even though I might be playing at a different part of the pitch, can I work as hard as a Jamie Vardy does?
I got a few minutes off the bench on Monday. He looked quite sharp, I thought, given the length of time that he's been out. I imagine a 90 minutes, if you can get through this today, again, that's kind of getting minutes into legs.
Totally. That's what he needs, because I still think he's got a lot to offer. Even when, you'd be the same when you see, if you saw his name on the team sheet, even now, you'd be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
We're in for a tough afternoon.
Yeah.
So that's what you want out of players, and he's been a great pro, and he's still looking sharp as ever.
Yeah, and again, the rest of the players in the squad look up to him. And you heard, even though he has been injured for a couple of months, even the senior players still look up to him. They know how important he is to this team, what he's done for this club over the years. So that just doesn't dwindle. While he's still at this football club, he will have that respect. He will have the younger players looking up to him. And as Steve said, he still contributes massively when he comes on the pitch. He has that presence when he walks on the pitch that not many players have, I have to say.
And I imagine, not just for the players that he's playing alongside, but if you're one of the Birmingham central defenders today, as you were saying, you see his name on the team sheet, you're thinking, I'm doing a lot of running that way,
Absolutely.
chasing him.
He is, yeah, and you know he's going to be, no matter what age he is, he's still sharp enough, and you know you're going to be in for a tough afternoon. So hopefully he can just, I'd love to see him score 2 or 3 a day. It would be great.
I bet he would as well. In terms of what Enzo Maresca said about Birmingham, it isn't that long since the last time that they played. They're now under new management. How much can you take from that first meeting?
Well, they'll know the players individually and what they have. So Dembele, for instance, and Mayoshi, who are both very, very good with the ball at their feet. Love a dribble, can go either way, love to get the shots off, quick, sharp, whatever you want to call them. So they'll know about them individually, but as far as the team tactics are concerned, or the way Tony Mowbray has set them up differently to the way Wayne Rooney set them up, then there might be a slight change. But as Enzo's already said, he understands that from when Tony Mowbray was at Sunderland, and the way they like to do a high press. They had lots of young players at Sunderland, so they were very energetic. I'm not sure if Birmingham have the same energy levels as some of the players at Sunderland. We'll have to wait and see today, but you would think that he'd set his team up pretty similar to the way he set them up at Sunderland.
And you mentioned the word aggression several times. They were expecting them to be aggressive and be on the front foot. Is that the sort of team that Leicester can almost, it benefits them in a way, in that if they're coming onto them, they can hit them, break?
I think there's been a few games where people have tried to rough Leicester up, and that the passing ability has got them out of the game. But as far as Birmingham's concerned, I was at the game at Birmingham, and I think it would be a totally different setup, different game entirely. Because when I was there, Birmingham didn't really know exactly what they were doing. They looked all over the place. Whereas I know fine well after I've played many a team Tony Mowbray has managed, and they're very disciplined, they're very organised, and like you said, very aggressive. So they're going to have to be at it today.
Yeah, his first job when he came in as manager, Tony Mowbray, was basically to make them harder to beat. And going back to that game that Steve was at, I was in the studio here. The gaps between the midfield and the back line were astronomical at times. And, in the two breakaway goals that we've seen from Leicester last night, sort of highlights that, for just for picking out one instance. And so Birmingham City's gaps now between the back line and especially the midfield, you'd expect them to be a lot tighter. But again, when you mention the high press and Leicester playing around that, it'll be interesting to see when Leicester put their back line under pressure, how they react to that. Do they drop off, or do they stay on the front foot and try and stop at its source, so to speak, and be on that front foot base? So that'll be interesting to see.
Of course, very early in their process
exactly.
as well.
And will they have a confidence to carry out the wishes of the manager?
And as Enzo mentioned, there is a big game on Tuesday as well against Swansea here at King Power Stadium. And of course, you can watch it with us live on Fox's Hub.
Deflected and it's in. And it was Vestergaard with the vital touch. Fatawu, can he get his shot away? You bet he can. As he fires it into the roof of the Swansea net. Early towards Iheanacho, who's onside and in behind for Leicester as he makes it 3. And surely now it's the goal that gives Leicester City all 3 points in Wales.
And you can stream the entire game, as I said, live on Tuesday evening. We'll be here in the studio. You can watch the entire game with us. Scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That'll take you through. It's just £10 to watch the entire game with us on Fox's Hub. Back to today, though, building up towards the FA Cup 4th round. Birmingham City are the visitors. Our commentary team this afternoon will involve Matt Elliott, who is... Oh, he's not quite sat down. Never mind. We'll go to... I think he might be getting some layers on. Is he? Yeah. Okay, maybe. I think he's finished.
That many it's not that cold, Mark.
Well, you say that, but we saw him a little bit earlier, and he had scarves, he had jackets, he had all sorts. Hopefully, he's finished his stew as well, which was very nice in the press room. Good afternoon, Matt. Are you with us? Can you hear us?
There
he is. Have you got all your layers on? Have you got
Hang on,
enough?
let me dip a bit. That's it. I've got enough layers on, yeah. Some of the layers are natural, I'm sorry to say.
As long as you're warm enough out there. So Birmingham, the visitors, what are you expecting today?
I'm expecting a very tough game, first and foremost. A massive army of supporters reportedly coming today. 5,000 I've been told. I'm not sure whether that's entirely true or not. So they're going to obviously rally the players in front of them. Tony Mowbray taking over recently. Fortunes have taken a turn for the better. Unexpectedly so, really, with Mowbray's experience. And I think they're a decent outfit as well. They've got a strong outfit and line-up today in terms of not multiple changes. When at St Andrews in the league game, Leicester were imperious at times, but Birmingham showed lots of capabilities themselves, really, and a lot of those players are playing today. Leicester, multiple changes. It's going to be a tough afternoon.
How much do you think those changes that Leicester have made will affect things? We were talking earlier, 10 changes. They've all been training together, but obviously they haven't really had much of an opportunity in the first team to show Enzo Maresca what they can do.
No, that's right. I mean, Maresca and certain players, individuals, have said about the squad mentality, and everyone knows their roles, or certainly should do, and they practiced, rehearsed it in training situations. But it's not the same. It's not the same. Time will tell if they're able to gel as quickly as the manager would like. I think it's quite a big ask, really. But listen, there's a total contrast in some of the selections of the team, isn't there? In terms of experience, you're Albright and Vardy and Cody coming in. No qualms about them, of course. And Callum Doyle, has already proven himself above and beyond this sort of level, really. But then you've got the youngsters up top. I think that's the concern there. Are they going to hit the ground running? Are they going to be able to fire collectively in a game of this sort of magnitude stroke level, isn't it? It's the FA Cup, big occasion. And I think that the Leicester City supporters will be disappointed if that doesn't happen. But I think they'll be encouraging from the off and try and get behind the younger players. Oh, Matt Heath just walked past and done well to recognise there with a big long beard. Times changed that day, but I think Birmingham are going to be bright and difficult opposition. But from Leicester's point of view, there's enough experience to perhaps guide and help the younger boys through it.
I was going to ask about that experience. We've been talking about Jamie Vardy and how much he can sort of show these young players what it's meant to be a professional and to play for Leicester City. But you mentioned Connor Cody. If he's in a back four alongside Ben Nelson, who has only started once, and then Brandon Cover as well making his senior debut today, how important is he and his voice in that back line?
Yeah, I think communication is massively underrated, I think, generally in football, but it's perhaps not on the in the inner circles, for want of a better description. But from a defensive point of view, you can dictate and you can orchestrate how the team plays from that centre half position, not just those immediately around you, but further upfield as well. It has a knock-on effect. You can see the big picture and organise accordingly, and Connor Cody does that all the time. It's just instinctive for him almost. I've had the pleasure of meeting him briefly on a couple of occasions, as have a few of the others of us involved in the media, and he just likes talking football. He likes talking full stop, and he takes that onto the pitch, and he openly admits it. I'll talk to anyone anytime about football, and that sort of natural enthusiasm does well for him on the pitch and others around him. Ben Nelson played not so long ago alongside Connor Cody, hasn't he? And what better player, really, at a club like Leicester City, to have the luxury of Connor Cody to use as and when the manager sees fit. And Ben Nelson will certainly be appreciative of that.
Just likes talking. I wonder who that could have got to as well. Matt, appreciate your time. Stay warm. Say hello to Matt for us, and we'll speak to you a little bit later on. Matt Elliott will be on commentary for us this afternoon. Let's get a little bit more then, shall we, about our opponents today. Birmingham City, travelling across the Midlands to King Power Stadium. We caught up with Alex Dicken of the Birmingham Mail to get the inside track on the Blues.
Tony Mowbray's come in, obviously vastly experienced. Everyone knows the success he's had at this level over the last, almost 2 decades really. He first kind of pitched up in the Championship as a manager with West Bromwich Albion in 2007, finished 4th. Following season he won the league with them, playing some of the best football the league's probably ever seen. He's done well in other jobs really. He's never had a club and left it in a worse place than he's found it, I'd say. So there's a lot of optimism around his appointment, particularly that he's come off the back of a season with Sunderland where they weren't expected to really challenge in the Championship, and he's got to the 6th place in the playoff places. Already in 3 games we've seen vast improvement. Blues are much better with and without the ball, and they've had they're unbeaten in those 3 games and have had 2 quite good results, particularly the win at Stoke. They weren't brilliant at Stoke, but it wasn't really a team that a performance that Tony Mowbray would want from his team, in that they had far less ball than Stoke did. They had far fewer chances, but they got a 2-1 win and got the job done. So it's been all been all positive really so far in his reign. Already in 3 games, it feels like he's probably got 9 or 10 places in start 11 nailed down, that he knows who's in his best 11 at the moment. But there are still high quality players on the bench. I think of Tyler Roberts, who's not had much football due to injury this season. Keshi Anderson, who was a main player for Blues at the start of the season. Ethan Laird's coming back from injury potentially. These guys probably deserve a chance to stake their own claim. So I think he'll go strong. But he's admitted himself that it's almost a shot for nothing against Leicester, because Leicester are expected to win. Blues aren't going to win the FA Cup. So they can probably go to Leicester and play without fear and try and get a positive result.
Interesting, he's really turned things around, Tony Mowbray. Steve, you mentioned you played against some of his teams. How would you describe a Tony Mowbray football team?
Absolutely organised. That's the one word you'd use. Strong, organised, and we keep saying it, aggressive. But Birmingham, funny side, obviously, because to be a Birmingham supporter, it must be a nightmare this season. I mean, you're John Eustace and you're flying, and you're playing some good stuff. And then I think they were what, 4th, 5th in the league, I think. And then he gets sacked, and then Rooney comes in, tries to change the whole thing, and the nosedive. And then you've got Tony Mowbray coming in, so it's a total contrast of styles. Mm-hmm. But Tony Mowbray will have this side organised pretty quick, to be honest. Yeah,
it's almost like they thought, well, John Eustace, a young up and coming manager, to get new owners in, saying, well, we'll give away Rooney, another up and coming manager, and they'll have reverted back to the old school experienced sensei, shall we call him. He's been around the block for over 2 decades as a manager. So in the short term, you're probably thinking, well, it's one step back to take 2 steps forwards. But you're right. Where do they go from here? How long will Tony Mowbray be in charge before they make that change again? And if and when they do make that change, are they going to try and go for another young up and coming manager who has a name, i.e. like Wayne Rooney in the game of football? So I think it's a little bit of short-termism, if I'm being honest, for Birmingham. But as Steve's already said, he knows exactly what he wants out of his teams, and he knows how to get the best. He knows he's not got a team of footballers that can go out and pass the death out of teams. He'll know exactly what style of football this team needs to make sure that they're secure in the league and obviously hopefully get a result today here at Leicester.
Because that's the thing, they were sliding. They're only just above the relegation zone even now. Mm-hmm. They needed that kind of stability of, let's just grind some points out and see where it takes us.
There's no better manager to do that. Get them organised, disciplined, and try and get as many points as the thing. But I totally agree with Jay. I think it's just it's a stopgap. Yeah. And then I think with the type of club and the owners that they've got, obviously bringing Wayne Rooney in, I think they'll go for another big name like that, which is, will it work, will it not?
It's interesting that the only reason that Tony Mowbray was available for Birmingham is because the team that he was at did exactly that. They wanted something more at Sunderland, and they were flying, weren't they?
Me and Newcastle supporters, we were looking at Sunderland and they were winning games, and we're like, well, I'm not really having that. But it was Tony Mowbray's side, so hopefully he can do that, and get some stability for Birmingham, because the Birmingham supporters must be going daft.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, right place, right time for Tony Mowbray. Getting the sack when he's doing pretty well.
Stock's high.
Yeah,
People want
Stock's
him.
high. And I said, we all know he's been around. Bang, Birmingham job, why not? I'll give it a whiz.
Exactly.
I mean, today I was listening to his press conference in the week. I love this quote: "If it's a fight, let's throw some punches ourselves." Like, so then they're not. But that's the thing. But they're not coming here against the best team in the league, who are going to try and, keep the ball and create and do all that. They're going to try and go at them, not just sit back and try and, get a 0-0 or nick one on the break.
Well, that's an old school mentality, especially in today's game, in the modern game that we see today. Because when things get physical in games of football, which doesn't happen very often, then, and that's what I'm saying, but there you go. So if he can't beat Leicester at playing football, then there's another way you can do that, and that's by getting physical. And so it's a good ploy. It's probably the only ploy he's got. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, what the changes that Leicester have made, but it's a good ploy to try and include some of those old school footballing values that you have to be physical, combative in the middle of the pitch if you're going to win your battles. Because football is not always all about passing the ball to death.
Well, it's worked so far, unbeaten in games that he's taken charge of at Birmingham. Let's quickly recap the team news, though, for today, including Birmingham. We'll start with Leicester, though, where there are lots of changes. 10 of them, in fact, from Monday night's draw with Ipswich. Hamza Chowdhury is the only one who started on Monday who keeps his place. So Jakub Stelacic is the cup goalkeeper, comes in. The back four, Brandon Cover makes his senior debut for Leicester. We think at right back, Connor Cody and Ben Nelson will be the centre-back pairing with Callum Doyle on the left. Chowdhury keeps his place, as we were saying, in midfield. Pratt and Yunus come in ahead of them. Dennis Pratt, it's only his third start of the season and his first since the end of August. And Jamie Vardy is back, though. He starts for the first time since the end of November through the middle. Wanya Marcel and Mark Albrighton will flank him today. The substitutes bench: Ward, Justin, Fass, Mavididi, Ricardo, Cannon, McAteer, and then two young men, Silko Thomas and Arjen Reiki. They will both make their senior debuts for Leicester should they come off the bench. Plenty of experience there. Plenty of experience as well in the Birmingham City team that Tony Mowbray has picked today. They beat Stoke last weekend at away from home. They just make 3 changes from that game. Mowbray did mention he picked up a couple of injuries in midweek, so this is the team he's gone with. Ruddy in goal. Ethan Laird is one of those who comes back in. He's been out for 7 weeks with a hip injury. He makes his return today. Emmanuel Iwu as well comes into the centre of defence alongside Christian Bielik. Lee Buchanan will play at left back. James and Sunyik will anchor the midfield. Keshi Anderson, one of the other ones coming in today, will play just off Jay Stansfield up front, whose loan from Fulham is going to complete the season. Miyoshi and Sariki Dembele, probably the danger man, will be out wide for Birmingham. Lots of experience on their substitutes bench as well. Etheridge, Mark Roberts, Tyler Roberts, Hogan, Gardner, Ongello, Long, Burke and Donovan on the bench for today. I remind you can listen to the game in full on Fox's Hub. You can get your monthly Listen Live pass. You can sign up at lcfc.com/Fox's Hub. Okay, let's get some reaction from the team then today. Callum Doyle, when he arrived at the stadium, has been catching up with us.
Well, I am ready to go.
So it's Birmingham City at home this afternoon. Is it a different kind of feel looking ahead to a cup game rather than a league fixture?
No, not really. I think our mentality going into this game is to treat it as a league one or any other one, to be honest. Obviously, we want to win and we want to go on the next round.
And in terms of the FA Cup, even at these early stages in round 4, is there something in the back of your mind thinking about potentially walking on the hallowed turf at Wembley later in the competition?
Not getting too ahead of ourselves, but hopefully, I don't see why not. But like I said, we're just going into this game and preparing like we do for every other one.
And today's opposition, Birmingham City, is there anything in particular you're expecting from them this afternoon?
I think they're going to come after us, come and press, especially with the new manager coming in. I feel like he likes the high press and we've just got to find a way to play out of it. And they have got a few good players that we're keeping our eye on and we'll have to keep quiet.
And in terms of Birmingham as well, of course, in the Championship too, do you think in some ways that's a good thing to be drawn aside that is in the same division so that you know a little bit about them?
Yeah, obviously it helps. We've played against them before away, but they're coming to us now, and I think we've obviously looked back at the games we've played them in, and we took some details going into this game which could help us.
And finally, there's some changes going into this game. Do you think part of the excitement as well is for a lot of the players to really try and prove to the manager what they can do this afternoon?
Yeah, it's a game for the players that haven't had much minutes, for like myself coming back from injury. And yeah, really, it's just our chance to prove ourselves and get minutes in our legs.
Guys, I love when he was asked about playing at Wembley. Do you see the little smile flash on his face? It still means a lot to these players, even this early in the competition.
I've had the pleasure of playing there, so it's.
But he played there last season in the playoff final, didn't he? For Coventry, I'm sure. Yeah.
So he's got experience of it.
Yeah.
But it's still the cup final is something different from the playoffs, isn't it? You know?
I mean, any opportunity to play at Wembley is you take it with both arms, even if it's, you know, the trade trophy or whatever it's called.
Bristol Street Motor now.
Yeah. Well, you know, you take it. You take any opportunity to play at Wembley. So yeah, and obviously to play in an FA Cup final, which obviously some of the players have witnessed, been there and picked it. You mean, that's just mind blowing. So yeah, I'm sure that'll be ringing around the changing room as well. Back in 2021, when I think it was when they won it.
That's the thing. It does mean much more when you've been there and you've done it, not as one of the so-called top clubs that are competing for league titles every season. This is a big opportunity to try and get some silverware against the odds.
Absolutely. I mean, when you play at Wembley, you play that. It's a great occasion, all that, and you never think you're going to play again. So to have the opportunity to try and play there again, because it's an amazing place to play football, you want to grasp that with both hands.
And for today, we've mentioned there's a big game on Tuesday against Swansea. For the players, do you almost have to be like, Enzo, that's your problem. You deal with that. We're focusing on this afternoon. Yeah. And don't think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard Callum. Callum's absolutely spot on with what he said in regards to you've got to treat this game like any other game in the league. Yes, and it does kind of help because you're coming up against a team that are in the same league as you. Whereas if you were coming up against a League One side or a League Two side or even a Premier League side, then the focus is different for players. Obviously, if it's a Premier League team, this is a chance to take a scalp.
Yeah.
So the focus is that little bit more intense, shall we say. Whereas if it's a League Two side or is it Maidstone are still in? They're coming. Then it's easy to let that focus slip a little bit as a player, because you think you're going to walk it. And as we're saying, I think Maidstone have taken the lead or took the lead against Ipswich earlier on. I don't know what the score is now. So yeah, in that regard, it helps, with Cam. You've got to focus on what's in front of you today. It's a team in the same league. You're going to be afforded to treat it like a league game.
All right. We're not too far away from kickoff then. I'm going to have to press you for how do we think, after all of that, how do we think it's going to go today, Steve? Go on, Jerry, go on.
I mean, we've been focusing on a lot of the young players, the likes of Cover Nelson and whatnot coming in. Ben Nelson is a player that I love watching. I just think he uses class. And obviously one or two others. But when you look at the backbone of the team, there's still a lot of experience and quality in that side. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Leicester 2-1.
Yeah, I was going to go for 2-1, 3-1, but it just shows you that obviously the team that Birmingham's put out was quite a strong team.
Yeah.
And obviously Tony Mobley said, we're going to have to be our best. Even, can you call it a Leicester second team? Yeah, well, Leicester's second team. So he still put a strong squad out there. So, but I think there's enough quality in there for a Leicester win today.
Interesting. We'll see how the first half goes. We'll be back at half time to take you through the analysis and full time, of course. But we can hand over to our commentary team for this afternoon to take you through the first half. Matt Elliott is alongside Tyler Morris.